Being the hero is the fantasy at the heart of practically every video game out there. But what if you want to put yourself in the game? What if you've fallen in love with the idea of being the savior of the galaxy, but just can't really relate to the generic buzz-cut mail the developers have handed you? Well, that's where the character creator comes in, my friend. A few years ago, we took a look at some of the very best character creators out there. The ones that let players tweak the minutest of details. The ones that let them create anything from a runway model to an abject horror and everything in between. The ones that let them customize a cat. But in the years since, character creators have only grown more advanced. Graphical fidelity means models are more lifelike than ever before, hair is fuller and fluffier, eyes are shinier and alive, and other bits can be tweaked too, if you're so inclined. Character creators are so detailed nowadays that you can even recreate other video game characters in entirely the wrong setting. Anime Geralt, anyone? So, with 2 previous lists already in our back catalogue, let's look at even more. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are another 10 great character creators in video games. Number 10. Elden Ring. Longtime fans of the Soulsborne series know all about fashion souls. There's no point going out there and being squashed beneath Ornstein's hammer for the 100th time if you don't look fabulous doing it. And while the weapons and armor certainly make the outfit, none of that really matters if you haven't got the pitch-perfect hair to match. The Lands Between is a truly sprawling place to lose yourself in for upwards of 100 hours, yet a fair chunk of that time might be spent in Elden Ring's extensive character creator. With a handful of decent presets, players in a rush can quickly and easily throw together a competent tarnished, but for those who enjoy tinkering, detailed sliders offer precise control over the most minute of details. This means players can either make their perfect fantasy hero or heroine, perhaps taking inspiration from the likes of Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, or throw all of the sliders to the max and make some sort of diseased green-skinned abomination. Whichever floats your boat, you know? Throw in the fact that players can choose their character's origin, be that aristocrat, seafarer, draconian, and more, which changes up their looks even further, and players can really lean into the role-playing aspect here. It won't help them beat any of the bosses, though. Number 9. Tyranny. Not all character creators revolve solely around making your avatar look pretty. Take Tyranny and its emphasis on player characters' background and combat capabilities. Working through the first section of its character creator may leave some players disappointed with its generic hair and face options, but then they'll spot the full body tattoos and can finally let their creativity run wild. Then comes the history section, which lets players pick how their custom character joined the army. Were they a pit fighter who caught the attention of the higher-ups, a diplomat who's fallen on hard times, or something else? The choice is yours. Next comes the player's expertise, of which they can choose both a primary and secondary. These dictate which deadly weapons and unique abilities they will have access to. Are you a dual wielder who dabbles in ice magic, or will you charge into battle with a greatsword and a short bow? Then, channeling its tabletop roots, the game tasks players with essentially creating their own character sheet, spending a whopping 28 points across skills and attributes to tailor their character perfectly to their preferred playstyle. But that's still not all. You can even pick your character's colours and create your very own custom standard to gallantly flutter in the wind as you slaughter your foes. That one is the most difficult choice of all. Number 8. Cyberpunk 2077. Before it came out, there was one aspect of Cyberpunk 2077's character creator that was on everyone's mind: the ability to alter the size and shape of, certain appendages. Well, the game released, and while that aspect turned out to be more limited than expected, the rest of the character creation was not. Cyberpunk 2077's Night City is a neon-infused, advert-riddled mishmash of dystopian technological innovation mixed with the grimiest city underbelly you could imagine, and its citizens reflect that in every facet of their being, from their garish clothes to the hunks of metal in their heads. To make sure your V fits in, the character creator caters to your every cybernetic whim. While you can't give your character's skin a healthy green glow, you can go overboard in just about every other regard, be that going big and beautiful with hair that would bewilder a parrot, carving metallic tracks through your skin with cyberware and scars, or giving yourself the kind of eyes that the emo kid at school could only dream of. Pink heart irises on a black background could even be considered tame here. Now, all of this might seem a bit redundant, given that the rest of the game is in first person, but hey, at least you know you look cool, right? Number 7. Jump Force. While the fighting, server issues, and, general gameplay of Jump Force didn't go over too well with critics and gamers alike, there was one thing fans could all agree on. Creating your own anime character who could go toe-to-toe with Goku and Luffy was a dream come true. Unless players were going for the superpowered alien look, the face and body customization options were fairly limited, offering only minor differences in appearance. However, just like in anime, the way to stand out and express your individuality was with hair. Yes, there were plenty of hairstyles to choose from, each bigger, wilder, and more outlandish than the last. Then you could go ahead and pick the most ostentatious color and highlight combo imaginable. 90s boy band frosted tips, anyone? Or what about a garish mop top that would make the Joker blush? Compared to your custom character, even the wacky do of Yu-Gi-Oh's Yu-Gi-Moto will look understated. It's a shame the poor sales and poorer performance led to the game's discontinuation and server shutdown in mid-2022, as there simply aren't enough games out there that allow fans to create their perfect anime character. Well, not enough reputable games, anyway. I'm sure there are plenty of others out there, but you best stay away from that side of the internet, you hear? Number 6. Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. Much like in the Soulsborne series, you will be dying a lot in Team Ninja's Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. At least until you get the hang of the deflect mechanic, that is. So why not look good while being impaled and disemboweled over and over again? You know what they say, if you can't beat 'em, at least leave behind a beautiful corpse. There are a fair number of basic presets to choose from here, but unlike other games that offer little in the way of refining, these should merely be considered the starting block, the clay from which your perfect Adonis shall be carved. From there, the character creator blooms, opening up sliders for every detail imaginable. The depth and position of wrinkles, the fullness of eyebrows, even the individual thicknesses of the edges of both the upper and lower lip. Furthermore, Wo Long's hair customization might be one of, if not the deepest on the planet, allowing players to not only pick a basic hairstyle from a selection of dozens, but also accompanying bangs, or fringe if you want to get British about this. And then they can pick the colors and highlights of individual sections, whether they want their hair tied back and how so, and adjust the level of curliness of the strands. You know what? This is almost too much. Number 5. WWE 2K23. After the buggy, broken, and downright disastrous car crash that was WWE 2K20, it seemed that the once-beloved wrestling series had gone and suplexed itself into the history books. Fortunately, this wasn't the case, and just as well, or else it would have robbed the world of one of the nuttiest character creators out there. Yes, luckily for fans of both wrestling and madcap custom characters, the series did not die and has fought its way back stronger than ever. WWE 2K23 offers a remarkably in-depth character creation system, packed to the gills with options ranging from height and weight to ear shape and eyelashes, and giving players the freedom to create an entirely new person, not just a face. This has been used to great effect by the community, who've sculpted everyone from the famous wrestlers of yesteryear to other video game characters. Ever wanted to see Kratos and Dr. Eggman battle over whose facial hair is superior? Well, this is the closest you're ever likely to get. With a wealth of clothing options and the ability to choose both their entrance and ring attire, players are only limited by their imaginations. The best part is that all the creations are uploaded to the community, meaning you can let someone else do all the hard work and then just download their Spider-Man character when they're done. Number 4. Starfield. This game might not have been the Skyrim in space fans were hoping for pre-launch, but there's no denying there's still plenty of fun to be had exploring the galaxy in your own custom spaceship, making friends, causing chaos, and finding joy in those ever-ubiquitous Bethesda bugs. And that fun begins the moment you hit start, not with the first mission, but with the character creator. Starting with what the game calls your character's biometric ID, players can pick from 40 wildly different presets, which not only give a great base model to build off, but showcase the enormous variety of faces the system is capable of producing. This selection can then be refined by cycling through a vast array of hairstyles, blemishes, and various structural tweaks. Using this creator, truly dedicated fans have almost perfectly recreated a whole host of celebrities, from Johnny Depp to Willem Dafoe, and even the game's daddy himself, Todd It Just Works Howard. After all this, for added role-playing immersion, players are asked to choose their background. There are 21 of these, ranging from beast hunter to xenobiologist to chef, and each grants different skills that can completely change the way you play the game. You could easily spend just as long creating your character and choosing the perfect background for them as you do exploring space when it comes to Starfield. Willem Dafoe, for example, would clearly be something of a xenobiologist himself. Number 3. Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen. It's well worth noting here that this script was written before the release of Dragon's Dogma 2, which itself has a fantastic character creation suite. No matter though, I'm sure we'll do a 4th entry in this series of lists eventually. In the meantime though, the original game deserves plenty of credit of its own. Role-playing is at the very heart of the Dragon's Dogma series, and good role-playing starts with a good character creator. Players begin by selecting a basic build, and there are plenty to choose from, each showing off the complexity of this creation system. Tiny mage, stocky barbarian, lanky archer, anything is possible. Dozens upon dozens of presets can be used to quickly transmogrify your character from generic to one of a kind, and can even be refined for greater control over their looks. But it's not just the face players are able to customize. Your character's body is just as malleable. Want your Arisen to look courageous and imposing? Just slide that posture bar to the max and see them puff out their chest. Want them to look dejected and small for some reason? Whack it the other way to see them slouch over. Even the height slider isn't just for show. The maximum setting is almost twice the size of the minimum. You can really go all out, creating anything from a chiseled warrior to a stooped and slimy worm tongue of a character. And then of course you get to do the whole thing again to create your pawn. While not as cute as customizing your own cat companion like in Monster Hunter World, these pawns are at least far more useful in combat. Well, at least you'd hope so. Maybe make them nice and handsome to get on their good side, eh? Number 2. Code Vein. Did you miss out on Jump Force but still wish you could make your own perfect anime character? Do you like your Souls-likes with a bit more of a cartoonish aesthetic? Or maybe you just really like leather and belts? Either way, Code Vein might be the game for you. Set in a vampiric post-apocalypse, the player's first task is to create a hero stout and stylish enough to take on the horrors that have taken over. While it doesn't have sliders to get into the nitty-gritty of customization, Code Vein does have a plethora of other options to mix and match and create your perfect gothic protagonist. This includes the usuals like eye shape and scars, but goes even further with the brilliant, like the iris and highlights in the eyes, items to the bizarre, like over-designed steampunk gas masks. And like in Wo Long, players can customize their hairstyle, fringe, and extensions separately, resulting in some very unique creations. As with WWE 2K23, fans have really let their creative juices flow here, and have recreated all manner of famous faces from across TV, film, and video games, from 2B and Link to Squidward. That being said, based on the game's almost fetishistic devotion to its aesthetic, most of your options are going to fall somewhere on the emo to goth range. God, I wonder how long it actually takes to do up all of those belts. And number 1, Baldur's Gate 3. While not as limitless as a tabletop Dungeons & Dragons player's imagination, Baldur's Gate 3 does come pretty darn close. Every sneaky tactic, every dialogue option, every combination of spell and environment, every thought you have, someone at Larian Studios thought of it first and coded it into the game. Players will be presented with innumerable choices across its runtime, but the very first one is both the simplest and yet the most daunting. Who are you? First things first, players need to choose their race, and with a total of 11 races and 31 sub-races to pick from, each of which impacting the game in vastly different ways, it can get a little overwhelming. Then come the classes. There are 12 of these and 46 subclasses. Again, these will change how players interact with the world in wonderfully unique ways. Next, if you haven't yet been totally crippled by choice, you can finally get on to actually customizing your intrepid hero's looks. With countless hairstyles, tattoos, horns, and tails on offer, everyone's mind flayer to be will be totally unique. At least until that parasite finally decides to activate, and then everyone's going to look very much the same. And then, after all this, you've got to do it all again to create your Guardian. Tell you what, it's a good thing that background music is so soothing. I think I'm going to be here for quite a while.